Let's build Airbnb's chat bubble icon from scratch. Hello everyone, I'm Riley and welcome back to my UX lab. This is step 5 in my Rebuilding Airbnb in Figma series. Today we're building the header chat bubble icon to match Airbnb's as closely as possible, so let's go. Starting out on our blank screen, we'll use the rectangle tool, so using R on a keyboard for the shortcut, we'll click into the screen. We'll change the dimensions over here to a 37 by 19. We'll zoom in so you can see a little bit better. We need to change the corner radius. The top left is going to be 30, the bottom left is going to be 3, and then both corners on the right will be 60. Next, we'll change the color. We'll do the fill color here. That's going to be 657E9C for that hex code. We'll also add a stroke. We want it to be inside with a weight of 1, and we'll change that fill color here. That will be 5A6A88. Now we need to add an inner shadow. We'll come to the effects area, we'll hit plus, and we'll change it here to inner shadow. The X position will stay 0, same with the Y, but the blur is going to be changed to a 9 and a spread of 1, and then we'll keep the color the same. Next we'll add an ellipse, so hitting O on our keyboard and clicking into the screen, we'll change the dimensions to a 10 by 12, and then we will center align it with this rectangle we made, but we'll have it just off to the left here. We'll also change the fill to the 657E9C. Next, we need to add a drop shadow effect to the ellipse. So we'll come here to the effects panel, we'll hit plus, it preloads drop shadow for us. X position will stay the same. We'll change the Y to 1 and the blur to 5. Spread stays 0, and then we'll change the color to 2B3958 at 100%, and we'll click out of it. You'll notice that the ellipse is overlaying the rectangle we made, so if we click the ellipse and we change the original fill to 1%, that allows us to open up the effects panel again for that drop shadow, and we can now do show behind transparent areas. Now we need to make the same ellipse for this other side. You could do the same steps, or to make it easier for yourselves, if you select that ellipse we made. On a Mac, I used Shift Option, but on a PC or Windows, I believe it's Shift Alt. You just select it and drag it over and it will duplicate it for you. With those in place, we do need to build another ellipse. So hitting O on the keyboard for the shortcut and then selecting to the screen, we'll change the dimensions here to an 8 by 8. And then we'll drag it over to center it up so we can see better. And then we'll change the fill color to a 617190 at 1%. And just like before, we need to add a drop shadow effect. So we'll hit plus here. We'll keep the position at 0. We'll change the Y to a 1, the blur to a 5. We'll keep the spread at 0. And then we'll change the color to 899 FCD at 100%. You'll notice because we changed the original fill to 1 earlier that we have the show behind transparent areas already loaded for us that we can select. Okay, with the drop shadow now complete, we can move this ellipse into place. Instead of having it center like this on our chat bubble, we want it to be slightly higher, and we want it to be overlapping this original ellipse we made to give our chat bubble depth and dimension. Now what we need to do is duplicate it with that shortcut of Shift Option or Shift Alt, and we'll drag it over to the right here, overlapping this ellipse, but instead of being higher than midpoint, we want it to be lower than midpoint. So using the down arrow on my keyboard, I'll do that to move it into place. Speeding through one last ellipse, we need it to be a 7 by 8 with the color of 657E9C at 1%. We do a drop shadow of X at 0, Y at 1, blur at 5 with a spread of 0. The color would be 2D3C5C at 100%, and select show behind transparent, and then we can move it into place right around the center of that chat bubble. Okay, we can finally add text to this chat bubble. So using T on the keyboard for the shortcut and selecting into the screen, we'll start typing new in all caps. Under typography, you'll notice I used Roboto, medium, and 10 for the size. We also need to change the letter spacing, which is just the space between each letter without changing their size. So that's going to be 5%. From here, we just need to place this into the chat bubble. If you center align it with that original rectangle, both horizontally and vertically, and then use your arrow key on your keyboard one time to the left, it places it where we need it. And the last thing we need to do is change the fill color to white. The hex code for this is all Fs, so if you use F once and hit enter, it will autofill it for you. The very last step for this is to drag and select everything we made and use Command G as a shortcut to group everything together. So now when you select it, it will move as one. With our chat bubble now complete, we can move it into place. And I know the alignment may be off just slightly because we don't have the other icons done like this hot air balloon. However, these can always be adjusted later. So we'll just duplicate this using the Shift Option or Shift Alt shortcut and move this one above services, and we should be good. We can now compare our rebuild here on the right to Airbnb's actual app here on the left. Looking just at the chat bubbles, I think we really nailed it. The color, the spacing, and the shape are almost identical, and they sit super nicely in the header, which is really bringing this rebuild to life. And that's a wrap for step 5. We just built Airbnb's custom chat bubble icon, pushing our header so much closer to the real app. You may have noticed I decided to skip the little reflection that Airbnb has in their chat bubble. This was just to keep things a little more simple and clean, but what do you think? Should we have added it, or do you like it left out? Let me know down in the comments. Up next in step 6, we are going to be building the hot air balloon icon that Airbnb uses. It's a little bit more complex than what today was. We're going to be using vectors and shapes to make it perfect, so you definitely don't want to miss that. If you liked today's video or you found it helpful, make sure to leave a like and a comment, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next step. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.